Welcome to Amidon Planet. I am your host, Joel Amidon. Thank you for joining me in this never-ending quest to learn how to teach better. Today on episode 105 of the podcast, I'm joined by my students, Jazmine Smith, Maddy Robbins, Evie Bledsoe, and Jamya Benson. So this past semester, I had the great privilege to serve as an instructor for all of them for the elementary math methods course here at the University of Mississippi. So they're all in our undergraduate teaching program. So during that course, I invited them, invited all my students, but they took me up on it, to join me as co-presenters at the Mississippi Council of Teachers of Mathematics annual fall conference. And so Jamya, Evie, Maddy, and Jazmine joined me in demonstrating the teaching activity that we use in our in that elementary math methods course, where students prepare and present a small math lesson to a small group of their peers. And then the peers provide feedback on the lesson using a rubric where we're looking at, how did they use their time? Did they have folks working with each other? Did they ask like how and why? So deeper thinking, critical questions, right? So those deeper thinking questions. Did they, have a lesson that flowed? All that sort of stuff that you'd want in a lesson. But so in doing that activity in the class, they're learning how to teach math possibly in a different way than they experience themselves. So, because within the lesson, they're asked to use a messy task, which is a problem-solving task that is unguided and allows students to explore and play with mathematics to find their own solutions. So again, this means that they might have been teaching a little bit differently than what they've taught. They might be doing something a little bit different than what they're seeing in their field experiences. So it's kind of a way to guide students towards the type of teaching that we're looking for. And so that's why I wanted to write it up and share it at the Mississippi Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and why it was also great to have students who have done this activity do it with the teachers at the conference. So that was kind of cool, is that these students were the teachers in the session doing the activity with small groups. And so it was kind of a meta, but really a cool thing to experience, cool thing to be a part of. I invited them all after finals to come on the podcast, share their experience, and this is that recording. So this was done shortly after the fall semester, before they all left for home for the winter break, which for us in Mississippi, if you haven't seen the weather, has been an extended winter break. We even had Jim Cantori here in downtown Oxford, Mississippi, talking about how bad it was. So yeah, it was bad. We were iced in for over a week and even delayed the start to our semester. But anyway, I digress. Excited to get the chance to share this episode, for them to talk about what they learned in this opportunity to share their own learning, and also to help others learn on how to teach better. So seemed like a perfect episode to share early on in 2024 for Amidon Planet. And if you missed it, the first episode in 2024 for Amidon Planet was getting to talk again with Rob Harvilla about his book, 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. So if you missed that, I think that's one of my better interviews. I've listened to Rob and his podcast for a long time. And so I think, and this was the second time I've interviewed him. And so, kind of settled down and was able to have a great conversation. I thought it was pretty good, but that's just me. Anyway, if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and check that out. And if you haven't checked out Rob's book, I would, again, say, hey, go ahead and check that out as well. But you're here. You hit play on this episode. So we're going to play this episode with Maddy Robbins, Evie Bledsoe, Jamya Benson, and Jazmine Smith, all talking about their experience presenting our talk, Let 'em Teach, Small Group Teaching Toward Desired Practices, at the Fall Conference of the Mississippi Council of Teachers of Mathematics. Enjoy. Maddy, Jamya, Jazmine, Evie, welcome to Amidon Planet. This is awesome. So, hey, I'm just so thankful that y'all can join me on your break. This is good. So we're going to go around the room and go around the Zoom room. This is a crowded Zoom room. Go around the room and let people introduce themselves and say a little bit about themselves. So, Maddy, you want to go first? You want to say something about your full name, hometown, major, anything else you want to share, all that good stuff, what you want to do after you graduate or grow up, whatever you want to do, and put in whatever you want there. All right, go ahead, Maddy.
Yeah, so my name is Maddy Robbins. I'm from Diamond Head, Mississippi. I'm double majoring in psychology and elementary education. I have a couple of endorsements, but my main ones are Spanish and social studies. And after I graduate, I'm going to go to grad school for higher education, student affairs. But after that, I really want to be a fifth grade science teacher.
Fantastic. All right, Jamya.
Hello. My name is Jamya Benson. I'm from Grenada, Mississippi. I am majoring in elementary education. And after I graduate, I plan to join Maddy, also in the higher education student personnel program. And then after that, I really don't know what I want to do. So.
All right. Fantastic. Jazmine.
Hi. I am Jazmine Smith. I'm from Batesville, Mississippi. My major is also elementary education. My plan is also kind of similar, but I do plan on getting my master's in special education, applied behavior analysis.
Oh.
After that, we're still in a question mark, but hopefully by the end of this semester, we can figure that on out.
All right. Evie.
My name is Evie Bledsoe. I'm from right outside Nashville, Tennessee. I'm elementary education, but I have an endorsement to teach secondary math. After I graduate, I am going to do the elementary education curriculum instruction master's program, but I'm also going to try to just go ahead and jump into teaching. And ideally, I would teach third or fourth grade math. So we will see what happens.
There we go. Fantastic. All right. So the reason why we're here today, and again, we had a chance to do a little presentation at the Mississippi Council of Teachers of Mathematics. They had their annual conference was here in Oxford, Mississippi, which allowed a great opportunity for us to go in and share. And so what's cool is that, I usually like to go and do some sort of presentation at that conference, but then put out the invitation for folks to join me for that opportunity and to, because we're going to share something that we do every week in my math methods class, my elementary math methods class. And you all said you volunteered. So first of all, what led you to want to volunteer? Anybody have any idea? Like what led you to want to come and do it? Because there was no, I don't know. It was just basically like, hey, you want to spend your Friday night with Dr. Amadon with a bunch of math teachers? I don't know. Evie, what do you got?
For me, it was just taking the opportunity to go ahead and start developing professionally and working with other professionals, because up until this point, we were never given an opportunity like that. So just go ahead and taking those leaps and meeting people who can help further us in the future.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add to that? Maddy?
So I chose to volunteer for this because I love the ideas of teaching groups, and I feel like it's something a lot of other professionals can use in their classroom or just in PD days for teachers. So I thought spreading the word was a good thing to do.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Anyone else have anything? Jamya, you got some?
I'll piggyback off of Maddy. Just allowing teachers or specialists to see what we do at this level is kind of cool because they can implement it. Yeah. And two, for us, it's good for us to be able to get that constructive criticism because we don't get that in class from our peers. So just opening that door.
Yeah. That was kind of the weird part, right? Because we were doing a presentation, not to just, there were some other math teachers, but then we kind of had the crowd of math ed professors like me or else math specialists. So they were math teachers within school districts too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a little above and beyond even from what you're used to even talking to. And Jazmine, did you have anything to add to that?
I would just say they stole all my answers.
Awesome. Sorry, but yeah, no, that's good. We want to underline. You're just underlining, highlighting. Yeah, that's okay. That's all good. All right. So yeah, we had a chance to give a presentation on these teaching groups that we do within class, and I'll give kudos to Dr. Cunningham. When the pandemic happened, I used to do something where groups are these base groups that we'd have would do present lessons within my methods class, both in my kind of general methods class, which is at the University of Mississippi is EDCI 353. But I also would do it in my math methods class, which is EDL 403, which is the one class y'all just successfully completed. So congratulations. But then, so thinking about, snaps all around for that. Survived Amadon. Holy cow. But thinking about the, that idea of having a group teach the whole class, it was nice. It kind of got a chance to, exercise your teaching muscles. But then during the pandemic, I was like, well, how's that going to happen? How can I have a group teach everyone in a Zoom room? That would be even complicated. So then we came up with a way to do it in do breakout rooms, and then one person would teach a small group of 4 or 5 within the Zoom room, because that's something, again, that Dr. Cunningham would do within her face-to-face class, but then would easily translate into a Zoom space. And then I liked it so much, hey, let's do it. Let's continue to do that practice post-pandemic. So again, there's some things that were some silver linings from the pandemic, but been able to refine that a little bit, and then you all participated in it. And then Maddy and Jazmine, who've had me for 2 courses, saw it in both in their general methods and now in this class as well. And so being willing to go in, and we were able to demonstrate the strategy to some folks at the MCTM conference, the Mississippi Council of Teachers Mathematics Conference. And so really stepping in and not only I think teaching to your peers is one thing, but then also teaching to these math specialists and professors was, I would say above and beyond. I didn't reflect on it until later. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are, doing this in front of some pretty heavy duty, some very experienced math teachers, some of them even secondary teachers. So a little bit outside of our domain usually. So we talk about having moments of development, moments that we can point to within our development as teachers. And so I'm just curious, what were your moments? What were your moments? So does anyone have one that pops to mind just yet? Do you want to start with, what was your moment from our presentation? Jamya, what was your moment?
I would say my moment would have been listening to them give me the actual feedback because we had to plan these lessons, and from the beginning they were 15-minute lessons, and then we had to synthesize them into 10-minute lessons. And so when I went and presented mine, it was kind of okay, you left this out, and I was like, okay, didn't really notice that. So it was really them being honest and upfront, and that was really a moment for me, because I was they really know what they're talking about. And from the outside looking in, it was probably you're nervous, or I guess basically making sure that you have it all together. Mm-hmm. And that was okay. You won't always have it all together, was what I got from it. So you won't always be perfect. So that was...
Yeah. Well, and the fact that they were willing to give you that kind of feedback was, loving of them as well, knowing that you adjusted and everything. But that, because in the strategy, what they'll do is the teachers, and so you all were the teachers, presented the lesson, mm-hmm. and then we have a rubric that allowed to give feedback, and they obviously gave you some good, honest feedback. So that's all, and mm-hmm. and to be able to receive it too as well, right?
Right.
So, Evie, what was your moment?
Mine's also just bouncing off of what Jamya said with the feedback. So having the rubric be based off of a scale, just in a real classroom, we would be getting graded on our scale based on observations, was nice for me, because when our peers do it, everyone kind of is just oh yeah, you did great. They don't really give you the real constructive feedback that you might need. Mm-hmm. So having those people who they didn't know us, they are professionals, they've seen this stuff in the classroom, be able to give us that feedback and really tell us how we can improve was helpful, because going into the classroom, you're going to need all those types of things, and you're going to need to be able to take it and grow. So that was one of my things.
Well, yeah, and just having the more sophisticated noticing, right? They've not only have more experience teaching, but they also have more experience looking at teachers as well. And so, and that's something we push on all the time, right? Is hey, how was it? And it's even though we started to say hey, don't just say good, hey, provide some feedback, and that's what the rubric's for. But still, having that experience level of noticing, and you all get to experience that as kind of that was nice from my perspective. Jazmine, how about you?
All right, so I'm really going to piggyback off of them, but I'll be more specific. I know during the rubric time when they were giving us feedback on it, I had the math specialist at my table, and he was definitely telling me like everything I could have fixed and everything. And he was like looking at me, he was shaking his head like, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, like it's okay to give criticism." And like I could feel that it's so important for us now as like seniors of this seniors now to have that feedback, because I feel like sometimes our professors here, they're kind of like so sweet and so nice, and they don't want to be like hardcore. But I know like for you, for a fact, you, Dr. Cunningham, y'all are definitely going to tell us the real from the fake. And I feel like that'll better prepare us for it in the future. So that was my insight.
Yeah, that hey, that's a love letter to your future teaching, right? That's like a message we like to say. It's like, otherwise, like if we're just ignoring something that could be harmful, you could say harmful sometimes if you're like, hey, you're doing something like the way you're not talking about the right units, or like you're misspeaking about fractions or something like that. Hey, that could be harmful. So like, hey, making sure that we're being loving in our feedback, but then also making sure that you actually know what to do going forward. And that's, he did a good job in that. So Maddy, how about you? What was your moment?
So like everyone else said, the feedback was really important to me because like how we usually do this in class, we are getting feedback from other seniors. So they're like on the same base level as us. So getting feedback from professionals was great, specifically feedback on explicit instruction. So in my lesson, there were a few moments where the professionals in my group were like, wait, let's back up a step. Can you explain that a little more in depth? Because this can be taken in multiple different ways. And that was really great to hear, because like when I do a lesson with the first graders and student teaching with, they kind of just roll with it and they just kind of do what I do. But it was important for me to see that I needed to be more specific with what I was saying. So no one got confused or did it wrong or anything like that.
Yeah. To be specific with what are we being asked to do versus because sometimes we talk about having a messy task, but that doesn't mean everything has to be a mess, right? So like making sure, hey, we're specific here. Now, I think you did measuring things, right? Yes. Being specific, like what we were measuring, and then opening it up to like, hey, how you want to measure it is fine. That's kind of where the mess was versus no, I want to know from this point to this point, how far is that? And so tell me how you're going to do that. What I saw, I guess my moment from this was, and this is a big kudos to all of you, was how, from my perspective, and like it might not have been exactly from your, from what you were feeling inside, how comfortable you were teaching these lessons that you had designed, right? You had designed these lessons and adjusted the time frame, as Jamya said, like adjust it to the point, and then able to deliver them, and then sit there and receive feedback from total strangers that had resumes that were, literally they could be in a room set to hire you in a in the near future, right? And to see how you were doing that, I don't know, like maybe there is something about getting in the practice of teaching in front of peers, and then being that comfortable doing the same thing in front of others. I don't know. Did you sense that? And did you feel maybe it wasn't completely comfortable, but there was a level of comfort? I don't know. Yeah, Evie.
I know for me, like whenever we were told like that we would be presenting the teaching groups, I was immediately so stressed out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I could be teaching like actual doctors. Like I'm going to be teaching a 3rd grade math lesson to doctors. I was like, this is not going to go well. But then for some reason, when I got there, I did feel the like sense of comfort. Like during the lesson, I wasn't stressed out because I realized like there are people who are also there to learn and develop from others. Like they're not there to judge me. Like they're also there to help. So I don't know. Originally, I was very stressed, but like as soon as I got there, I was like, we can do this. It's chill. So
yeah, you've done it, right, Jazmine?
Yes. So since I had the math specialist, and then I also had Jack, your son, I'm not gonna lie. That added like 10 times more pressure on me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, my mama taught him. Oh my goodness.
Stare. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny.
I'm so nervous. But it was very comfortable, because after a while, I just got to see like, hey, they're learning just like 2nd graders would with the lesson. And this is just such a fun thing for them to do also. And just see me watch it, do it. It was I relaxed after probably 5 minutes of the lesson. I was like, it's cool. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I guess that's something to share with the audience is that Jazmine's mom is one of my favorite teachers of all time of my children. And so the fact is that Jack sometimes accompanies me. That's not his first rodeo, come to some conferences. So he likes coming because there's some snacks sometimes. And he loves the free snacks. But he also loves to engage with the mat. And like the fact is that seeing you teaching him and knowing that your mom, it was, it's a circle of life, Hakuna Matata sort of thing going on. So Jamya, I saw your hand up. Where did you want to piggyback
on? Really both of them, because I was nervous at first too. I was really going in, like almost shaking, but it was good to see. I know when you were up talking, I saw a lot of them taking notes and writing down like whatever you were saying. And it was really just a moment for me to reflect and be like, you'll never be too good to grow and you'll never be too old to grow. So it was really just comfort for me to be like, okay, everybody's learning here, like Evie said, and it'll be fine. We're all just getting better to just teach one to be better. So
it's kind of a fun thing, right? That we're all learning to grow and we're all growing together. That's good. Maddy.
So kind of like what they said, I saw them all as students because we're all students when we are wanting to learn. So we're all there to learn and we were all there to grow in our professionalism and things like that. So I almost imagined them as my first grade students, which was kind of weird. And they like really, I went full into it with the like, hey friends, how are we? Like that kind of thing. And they really played into it, which made my nervousness go down a lot because they were getting engaged into the activity. And it showed that they wanted to be there. They weren't just there because they had to be. They were there because they really wanted to, and they chose that specific session to go to. So that was really encouraging.
Yeah, that is something, right? That there's a self-selection. They wanted to come there to learn about this thing, and we had a responsibility to share that. And anytime anyone gives you their time, like how do we honor it? Even in a first grade math lesson, that students are there and they are given time, even though they're, so it's a little bit different than a professional in a conference. But still, how do we then honor that time and make sure it's a productive time for them to learn? So thinking about the idea of sharing, right? And knowing that, hey, this was something that, again, that like Maddy said, that they chose to come and learn about. And then also we had an opportunity to share something that might have been a little bit different. And I don't know if you all thought that what we did was a little different, right? Because that was the whole point of a conference, is to kind of share something that's a little different outside of the norm. And so sharing that and giving you an opportunity to kind of exercise one of the things I think is the best way to teach students how to teach is to let them teach, and let's make some mistakes and let's learn from those mistakes. So I don't know, was that a little bit different about learning that, hey, this might be a little bit different what we're doing and we have a responsibility to share it with others? I don't know. Did that stand out to you at all? Maddy, you're kind of nodding a little bit.
So I like I said at the beginning, I've always loved the idea of teaching groups. Even when I was in your 353 class, I think teaching groups have been one of my favorite things. And I don't think I've ever realized that it was different than what most people would typically do in that kind of class. But I do know that like it's very impactful. And it gives you an opportunity to try things without kind of making a fool of yourself in front of a full classroom. So I don't think I ever realized it was different than what most people would teach, but I knew that something special was going on there.
Nice. Anybody else wanted to add to that? Evie?
I think for me, I would just like say that like we could have had a class where we came in every single day and we just sat there and listened to someone talk. And for me, like, I can hear things all day long, but whether I can actually take that and do something with it is a completely different thing. So being able to practice with a various group of people is important, I think. And it's a good thing that we have student teaching, but having these teaching groups does help because eventually we're going to be thrown to the wolves, you could say, and we're going to have to make our lessons on our own, teach them on our own. And if we've never had practice with that, there's no way we'd be able to do it successfully. So I think that having the practice is way more important than just going and getting lectured to. So I do think that is a different aspect.
Yeah, Jazmine.
Yes, one thing I know from like the first time doing teaching groups in your 353 classroom, I definitely realized the importance of having hands-on things and having fun with the activities that you're doing to help the kids get engaged. Kids, quotation, our college, college colleagues. But I feel like that really helped me benefit from seeing the importance of having messy tasks, let the kids do the learning, and you just sit back and you watch.
Yeah. And Jamya, I think I love to see you having fun in class doing teaching groups as well, both as a student, but then as a teacher as well. But I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Well, I'm in first grade now. I'm placed in first grade now. And the one thing I really like to touch on is making like learning an experience, because I know I've had a lot of experience being a student where I didn't engage in learning the way I really, would have wanted to. But I say for teaching groups, it's just making using that opportunity as an experience so that I can grow as a mathematician, like you always say, because the time frame, 15 minutes is really, it's kind of hard to fit instruction in 15 minutes. So it's really kind of a challenge, but I like how it challenges me because I can figure out, okay, I can't do this in 15 minutes. I can't do this in 15 minutes. Just really, I don't know. I just like how it lets me grow as a math teacher or mathematician. So it's really cool to see that. So,
yeah. Well, for me, it's cool to see one of you does something and then somebody else maybe builds on that, and then somebody else, and you all build on each other. It's like that 352 where you learn about educational psychology and you learn about Vygotsky and what we can do with help, right? And you all are helping each other get better and better from, day one when you all are doing a lesson to then the last day when the last person in the group is teaching their second time around. You look at those lessons like it's completely up in the air versus, and think about the amount of stress maybe that first lesson was to at the end, maybe less stress because you find out hey, if I have a good task and ask good questions, I can plan less because it's going to take up that 15 minutes a lot faster, because we'll get into good discussion. We'll have people talking about their thinking and then bouncing each other's thoughts off each other. And then even too, going back to what Evie said, that you could just sit there and listen to someone talk. I guess that's what drives me crazy is the lecture about not lecturing, hey, you should never do that. And let me give you all this PowerPoint about why you should never lecture versus hey, let's do something. Let's get in and do it. And so same thing for math, right? Best way for math is hey, let's solve some problems and see how we solve them. Maybe we'll point out, hey, they're doing this algorithm that we really should teach. And hey, can you guys, that person that did it, can you demonstrate that? Hey, you did a really good job there. Share what you know with the rest of the class. It's all good. And seeing you learn from each other is what you want from the classroom. You want your students learning from each other as well. And I think, Maddy, you kind of talked about it where, you're going from teacher to student and you kind of seeing that back and forth thing going on, which is really nice. Okay. So you've had a moment, right? And we talk about moments and reflecting on it. What does it mean to you and your development as a teacher? But then it's just a moment and we continue on the path. So what does that mean going forward? It's so what does your moment mean for you as you go forward on this road to better teaching? Does anyone want to take that one to start? Maddy?
So my moment was explicit instruction and being very careful with how you give directions. And with my first grade class that I'm in right now, you have to be very specific. And I used to, when I would give them instructions, I always wondered, why are they not getting it? Why are they not getting it? Why are they not doing what I'm asking them to? And it's because I wasn't asking them explicitly to do X, Y, and Z. So from now on, any lesson plan I write, I make sure that it's very specific. And even if it's not a lesson plan, if it's just telling them how to line up in the hallway, telling them, quiet feet, deer ears, quiet, things like that, being very specific with what I'm telling students, because I don't want them to get confused and I don't want them to not know what they're doing.
Yeah. Here's what success looks like, right? Yeah. Jamya.
I would say that my moment is when I journaled this, I put being confident in collaboration, because, like I said, you won't always have everything perfect. And yeah, it's always good to just learn from other people, especially like when I know for going into my first year of teaching, it's always going to be people that's going to be in your corner trying to help you. And if you're not open to that help, then you won't be able to grow. So I use this opportunity when we went to the conference just to be like, it's okay to get help. It's okay to receive that criticism, constructive criticism, and just being open to just new ideas and new feedback. So
nice.
I'll
Go ahead, Jazmine.
Okay. Jamya said, since mine was talking about constructive criticism, I just feel like this will help me keep an open mind. So like when I become a teacher and I have a principal and assistant principal and they're giving me all the information that I need, even though I might not agree with it, I know I have to sit there and listen and, take it like a big girl. And I feel like that just helps me, farther my lifestyle and being okay with learning new things and being okay with saying my stuff is wrong.
Yeah. Or it could be improved, right? Yeah. Right, and too, even seeing that from your mom as well. Like, when I've gone into Della Davidson and having her interact, like she's always eager to learn, right? Always eager to think of like what I could do could be better, right? And like always, and as a reason why she's been named Teacher of the Year. All right. So that's good. Evie.
For me, my moment had to do with the constructive feedback also. So the first thing I think that I'll do going forward is just remember to take all of the opportunities that are given to me. Like, don't pass anything up because, like everyone else had said, like, there's always room to grow. And just remembering 20 years down the road, like, no matter how good I think I am, to take the feedback and improve where I can be improving, because you're never going to be perfect. There's always going to be room for growth. So,
yeah, I think, and one thing it's remembering for me, like one of the things I used to talk, I think I shared within the class this year was I used to have the last class I would do in my methods class at the University of Wisconsin was we would go to the local conference, right? We would go to the local, it was called the Wisconsin Math Council up there, and actually talked to Kelsey Foster's a few episodes ago, who went with me on one of those conference trips and with the rest of her classmates, and just building that in and seeing like, the class, just because you get the degree doesn't mean that the learning ends, and doesn't mean you need to have like these really official spaces to have, to engage in the learning. Like we could be learning from the student next to us that we're teaching, like we're technically teaching, but they're maybe teaching us this method, like, oh, I've never seen that before. Or we can learn it from the colleague down the hall, learn it from an administrator, or they can learn from us. Like there's so much, like we need to constantly be open to that learning. And so being able to open up a space where, hey, here's one of these organizations that you can go not only learn, but also learn from people in different places. Cause sometimes too, we get siloed, right? That it's just the University of Mississippi, or it's just my class, or it's just, my math coach down the hall, or the administrator, whoever is watching me. Like there's other places to learn about how to get better at teaching. And so making sure that you all are exposed to such things. And so I'm just so happy that you all joined me for that talk. It was so cool to almost, I'll say, show off, because like when I was interacting with other folks after our presentation, and they were so excited that you all came to share, because you all were the show. It was so cool that, and the people were like, oh my gosh, your students, like, that was so exciting to see their lessons and whatnot. Because that's also too something that I think that I want you all to know, and others to know, like to have that opportunity for peers to help peers, or peers to be, open themselves up, right? To be observed and to get that feedback. And the fact is that most of you mentioned that you talked about that constructive feedback was part of your moment, right? Like that is awesome, because that's how we get better, right? Like being able to reflect and improve on our own practice, but then also being able to get feedback and somebody else noticing and be able to say like, hey, I see how you can get better because you're here and you could be here, and to take that in and to incorporate it into your practice is awesome. So I just want to say thank you. You all are great. And so not only that, but then going above and beyond and joining your math ed professor when he has no grading power over you and it's break. I'm like, come on now. Like y'all are awesome. So anyone have any last thoughts or anything that you wanted to share or anything else that you wanted to share before we sign off? No? All right. Jamya, you got something? All right.
I got something. I think I can speak for all of us when we say that we appreciate the opportunity for just extending the invitation to grow as a teacher professional. So that was really cool to just expand our learning farther than the classroom or past the university. So it was cool to see that and get to have the opportunity. So,
wow, it was fun for me. It's another chance to show up and be good, right, Jamya?
That's it. Show up and be good.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And thanks for coming and joining me on Ambit on Planet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Ambit on Planet. Show notes can be found at ambitonplanet.com/episode 105. So you'll find links to all those things that we talked about in our presentation. There was also a post in Ambit on Planet about the session, so I'll put a link to that. So in case you're a teacher looking for, hey, I want to get those materials, or a teacher of teachers looking for those materials, I'll put those out there. Now, for those of you looking for ways to support the podcast, 1, listen, okay? 2, follow it on Spotify. I would say go to Spotify. Move my podcast over to Spotify, so let's follow it on Spotify. That'd be great. You can rate it, review it. There's question and answers there you can respond to as well. So go ahead and do all that stuff. That just shows a little bit of love for the podcast, helps it get found by others looking for similar content. So appreciate all that. You can also submit a question, comment, or suggestion to the mailbag by sending an email to joel@ambitonplanet.com. In addition, I'm always looking for opportunities to work with those who are looking to lead people to love others through teaching. If you have an event or opportunity to share, you can either send an email to joel@ambitonplanet.com or head to ambitonplanet.com/about to fill out the request a call form. Thank you for spending time on Ambit on Planet. Thank you to Maddy, Evie, Jazmine, Jamya. Thanks to Matt Mifflin for the music in this episode. Finally, thank you to all of you out there learning to teach better and be the good in the world by investing in the lives of others. This world is a better place because you have decided to use the gifts you have been given to serve others. Thank you for all that you do. Peace.